This week, we talk about fasting. Also, we'll take the mystery out of metabolic syndrome and check in to see if I'm any less fat. Let's get into it. Do not adjust your television sets. I've turned a shade slightly less lily white.
Yours is authentic, though.
Yeah, I was in Phoenix.
Paid for by me.
Phoenix, Arizona for a week. Just got back. And I don't know if you can tell under this lighting, but I'm one shade less lily white. And it feels good.
It feels unbelievable. Like I said, even if mine come from light bulbs, I still do it because like I was telling you before we started, I said, I lay under that bed for like 15 minutes and it just gets hot. And it just feels like I'm in the bow of the boat.
Yep.
And just, I can almost hear the water slapping against the side of the bow.
Little Playboy bunny sticker on your upper thigh.
Yep.
So you have that little, tan marking there.
Yep.
Remember that back in the day?
Usually just my watch because I always forget it on. Or my socks because I don't take my socks all the way off. I just pull them down to the end of my feet. Sometimes I forget.
A line.
So sometimes I forget. Well, I'm too tall, so my feet hang out. So it's either my head or my feet have to be out.
Vitamin D, though, man,
it's real.
Good. It felt good to lay in the sun, and I get why people live in those climates, where it's 200 plus days of sunshine a year.
I didn't need to go to Phoenix to get that. I realized it the last 2 days.
Right.
That wind, bro.
Oh God.
Jeez.
Yeah, brutal.
It was anger inducing. Yeah. I'd walk in the house and I'd be like, "Mother, son of a bitch!" I'd just be so mad.
I literally got off the plane. I was walking off the plane, and you know how the jetway is sealed up against the thing?
Yeah.
Well, there's like a 1-inch gap, and it was like a 40-mile-an-hour wind.
Oh, yeah.
Damn, we're back.
Mm-hmm.
There's Fargo.
Welcome home, jackass.
Oh, man.
Went from 79 to 30.
Exactly. Well, funny thing was when we took off in Mesa, it was 50 at like 6 in the morning, and then we landed in Fargo, it was 50.
Right.
Yeah, on Monday because it was pretty damn warm here, but then now
got
it's like,
really warm.
Then it's like 30 the next day. That's North Dakota for you.
How was your summer?
Mm-hmm.
It was Monday.
So my advice, get out there and get as much sun as you can. Go somewhere warm multiple times if you live up here. It feels damn good.
Well, you say that. Well, we're stuck in Christian Gray's red room.
One of these times I'll have you tied up with these chains back here.
People will tune in.
Don't tempt me. All right. Well, that brings up, me being on vacation brings up a topic I wanted to discuss. When you're on vacation, do you say F it to diet and workouts? Okay. Let's say you go to Mexico for a week, you go family vacation for a week.
Week or weekend?
Week. Well, I was gone for 7 days. Do you just say F it, I'm going to eat whatever the hell I want, I'm going to blow off my workouts?
Yes.
It didn't take long.
No, well, it's both.
Okay.
If it's a week, there's no physical way that I can not work out.
So you're just so compelled.
There's no way that my body can. Well, let me rephrase. There's no way my family could live with me if I didn't work out for 7 days.
So you just turned into that much of an a-hole.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I'm just. It's addicting, and my body needs to move, or my mood is just toxic. So I will find a hotel gym. Look at that lady in the back looking at you. I just
that's my daughter.
But she's mad at you.
She just tried out all the cardio stuff.
Oh, okay. So
they had little screens on it.
It's just the way you caught the photo with her looking. Then she looks like I'm gonna kill him.
Well, she might have been thinking that. I don't know. But yeah,
what'd you do? Oh, you made her work out.
No, she wanted to play in it because they had those screens where you can act like you're running along a road.
Right.
But
so I got sidetracked.
I can tell I've changed though as a person because when I got to this hotel, I've never seen a hotel gym before.
Really?
Oh no, because when I would go on vacation,
for you.
I would be full on F it, right? Eat whatever the hell I wanted.
I'm on vacation.
Never work out like you're taking vacation. But I realized how shitty I feel when I go whole hog and eat, back to the same old standard American diet. And we're going to find out in my How Fat is Josh segment later how that was, because it's been like 10 days since we were recorded last. And, I pretty much maintained my weight. And normally I would have gained a ton. And we'll get into that a little bit.
That's good. The food thing, no.
Well, here, let's talk about the working out. So I found the fitness center open 24 hours a day, and it had dumbbells, which is sweet. Because normally a lot of times they just have, a treadmill or something.
Yeah.
So I was excited because that's what I do at home is my dumbbell workouts.
Is that a scale?
Yep, they got a scale. They got a bench, incline, decline bench, and a bunch of cardio stuff, and a whole rack full of 5 to 50 dumbbells,
And
5 to 50 pound
landmine.
dumbbells. So it was cool. So I did that a couple times while we were down there. Took my kids in there, and had them run around and tried to get them to do the dumbbell workouts with me, to varying levels of success there. But
That's why she's looking at you like that.
right. But, it took my normal half hour, 40 minutes. I just did it, it was like, 8 o'clock at night after we were done hanging out by the pool. Didn't take up a ton of time. And I didn't feel like I was like ruining my vacation or,
Right.
Normally I would have felt like I'm not enjoying the vacation.
What kind of a douchebag works on it?
Yeah, because I'm sticking to this stupid workout regimen. Well, but I feel better after I do it.
Yep.
And that's one thing.
Right.
I don't know if you've experienced this, but you just don't want to go to the gym. You're like,
Yeah.
you just drag an ass.
Yep,
But
all
do
the
you
time.
ever feel worse when you do it?
Never.
Never, right?
And I know it sounds cliche, but those are usually the best workouts.
Yeah.
That's usually when you end up just killing it.
Well, I just felt like I didn't blow this off. I stuck to it, and that felt good. Not 100% because, I think I maybe skipped one workout, but I still did a couple while I was there and did push-ups and stuff.
You're still
Stuck
on
to
vacation.
it pretty damn
Yeah.
good. Stuck to it pretty damn good. I was proud of myself.
That's better than saying F it and
Exactly.
doing nothing.
Now, let's talk about diet when you're on vacation, okay? Now, this was tough because I'm doing pretty much OMAD, so, with maybe a protein shake earlier in the day and then and some meat later, and that's kind of what I've been eating. Now, the problem is with your family, hey, let's go find this Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives breakfast place.
Right.
Hey, let's go here
It's
for
part
lunch.
of the vacation.
Right, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to just not go because
Yep.
normally for me, I'm like an alcoholic. I just don't go to the bar.
Right.
Right. So I don't go to the breakfast diner that has the amazing banana pancakes.
To
So what I did
order a bowl of fruit.
was I chugged my protein shake before we went because those things fill me up.
Oh, yeah.
And then I just had a side of sausage.
No.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, they're eating the banana, candy cakes.
And what's okay is if you would have reached across with your fork and said,
Yeah.
at least try it.
Yeah. And I think I did that a couple times, but
Right.
I was full going in. So that, took care of my urges a little bit.
Yep, for 100%.
And then I just ate some protein while I was there, and I felt fine. I wasn't like just craving it.
That is how I gauge people's, when I'm working with people as far as nutrition goes, that's how I gauge their level of commitment and seriousness. They'll say, I'll get a text, oh shit, friend's wedding this weekend. What should I do before the meal on Saturday or whatever?
Oh yeah, and the cake and
And
all
I
that
say,
stuff. Yeah,
eat before you go.
right,
Well, I can't do that. Then you're not serious.
right. Because then they think it would somehow offend the.
I don't know.
wedding couple or
No, they don't
something?
think it'll offend the wedding couple. They just want to eat the meal.
Oh, right,
And they
okay.
want to eat the cake.
Right.
So they don't want strategy.
Or they
They want you to
rationalize
tell
it.
you it's okay.
Right. Okay. Yep. They want you to say, "F it, it's a wedding."
Yeah.
Take the L.
Yep. And you know what? F it, it's a wedding, take the L might be the answer depending on their goals.
Right.
But if your goal is bikini competitor in the next bodybuilding competition in Fargo, you don't get to eat the cake.
Right. Well,
You just don't.
Also, if you're the type of person that opens the floodgates,
Yeah.
and that's hard for me because I'm the can't eat one Oreo guy like you.
Yep.
So for me, it's hard to eat one bite of the banana pancakes and not go ape shit.
But it's a lot easier to eat one bite of the banana pancakes when you're already full.
And if you don't order them yourself, you
Right.
just order yourself a thing of
Well, you're not
sausage.
you're gonna get your hand slapped.
Right.
They're not your pancakes.
Exactly. So that was kind of interesting. So, and I say I've definitely changed because I used to come back and probably gain 8 or 9 pounds in a week just from saying F it and
Oh.
eat, and I didn't do that this time. So, it was pretty damn good. So people out there, let us know in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, do you say F it when you go on vacation? Do you blow off your workouts? Do you eat whatever the hell you want? Do you just drink to excess? What's worked for you? Can you get right back on track? And this kind of brings us to our topic of the week too, which we'll get into after a couple more things.
Perfect segue. That was brilliant.
It was good because fasting is one of the tools I used immediately when I got back. We'll get into that. Before we do that, I wanted to talk about this. We always doing a tweet of the week here. And I thought you made a point on social media the other day I thought was really good. And this Paul Saladino tweet was pretty much reflecting exactly what you said.
Wait, was this before or after mine? I don't want to people think I stole it.
I thought you were going to say he copied you.
Oh, he did. I'm looking at the time. Yeah, he did.
Okay, so I'll just read this for the people listening. The weight loss paradigm is completely backward. Rather than losing weight to get healthy, the focus should be on getting healthy by improving food quality, which will then lead to weight loss. The first route invariably focuses only on restricting calories, often while continuing to eat the same crappy food. No wonder this fails. Obviously, calories matter, but all calories are not created equally, and food quality along with micronutrient content are critical to long-term sustainable weight loss.
Calories
sounds like Dewey there.
Right? Doesn't look like me in his picture, but I don't have MD behind my name either. Well, unless you count Google University.
Massive dick.
I am not.
Dewey Firestein, MD.
No, he's right. And calorie is a calorie, but not all calories are created equal.
Yeah, I thought that was
where people get tripped up. And that analogy I've used a million times was, remember we were just talking about the 45-mile-an-hour wind gust in Fargo?
Yeah.
Well, go out and run a mile into that wind and then tell me a mile is just a mile.
Exactly, right? Or uphill.
Right.
Or I think the point you made on social media when you were politely bantering with your opponent there was you can you can lose weight by eating in a calorie deficit of 1,500 calories of gummy worms, but that wouldn't be recommended by anyone.
Yeah.
You'd still drop weight, but that's not
not
healthy. You're not gonna be healthy by any standard.
Fat loss is the benefit. It's an unintended benefit of getting healthy.
Exactly. Yeah, if you make that your goal, you can obviously do that by just restricting calories, but that's so much harder to do if you don't take into consideration the quality of the items of those calories, what they're made up of.
You have 4% body fat eating just gummy bears, but your teeth and your hair are falling out, but hey, you look ripped.
Yeah, and you look like you have Parkinson's because you're just quivering.
Right.
Yeah, because you have no strength.
And then you know what people follow up with when I say Sour Patch Kids or gummy bears or whatever? You know what they always follow up with? Well, you wouldn't do that, but you could. Shut up.
Right. On what universe?
That's just hyperbole bullshit. Just if you would never do it, then don't fucking say it.
Right.
That drives me nuts.
Dewey's sassy today.
No, I've had it with the social media professionals.
One thing I wanted to mention too is this push-up challenge that we're going to do. Okay, so let's talk about this here real quick. So this episode comes out April 2nd, so there's still time to get into this. This is called the Mission 22 April Push-Up Challenge, and basically
it starts tomorrow.
It starts tomorrow. Yep. Well, or if you're watching this on the 2nd, started yesterday. But the whole goal is to do 2,200 push-ups in the month of April.
Which is 63.3 a day.
Is that all it is? I thought it was 70-some.
Or maybe it's 73. It is 73. Sorry.
You do the math out there, people.
I'm not good at math.
2,200 in the month of April. So it's basically like 70. I think
73.3.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Outside of 63. But it's 73 because I was talking to people on there's a private Facebook page.
Yep. So join that, everyone. Go to Facebook.
And a lot of the people on there are like, well, what's your strategy? How are we going to break this up? And I said, dudes and chicks, female dudes. I said, I've done 100 push-ups a day for the entire month of April. And I'm here to tell you
it was super easy.
It's going to get really, really spicy.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be fun by the 20th.
Well, I max out at 40 every day, and well, that's unbroken. But I think the way people have to do it, well, it depends on your fitness level, right?
It doesn't, though. It depends on your recovery level.
Well, true.
You can break up and do 73 push-ups in a day, 74 because it's 0.3.
Yeah.
But you can do that, but can you do that for 30 days?
Right.
That's the problem. So my strategy is not only, all the jackasses that donated all that money out of your kindness of your heart.
I did, by the way.
Yeah. You and Joel Granberg really got me when I made that commitment to do them with a weighted vest on if I got to my $200.
Did you
he
make
just
it?
he just maxed it out right on the spot. Bastard. And he said, have fun. Yeah, thanks, Joel. So, anyways, the point of my story was
You're going to leave days for recovery.
yes. So I have to do 2,200 push-ups. So I'm going to do 100 a day, which gives me 22 days to do it in.
So you get some built-in days for.
So I have built-in days for when I wake up and go, holy crap, my shoulder's effed. Because you know why? Because I've done it.
Right.
And I wake up some days and say, my shoulder's not doing one push-up today.
Right. So yeah, build in a little.
So I got 7-8 days built in to, just.
It's like every third day you could skip.
I could,
and you can still make it.
Typically what I found is go when you can.
Right.
Don't say, I got days banked.
And also, if you can drop and do 10 and do that throughout the day,
yeah,
that's not that hard.
No, it's not. But I'm not going to wear my weighted vest throughout the workday.
Right.
So I'll commit to doing the 100 a day when I do them, all in one session.
And just
not unbroken.
And just to let everyone know, the cause this is for veteran suicide, and the Mission 22 is signifying the number of 22 veterans a day that commit suicide. That's kind of where the number comes from, right?
Yeah, every single day of 22 veterans take their life.
Yeah, that's crazy. So something we wanted to highlight.
Do that math.
Yeah, that's horrible. So, you were in the military. My dad was a Vietnam vet, and it's something that's definitely important to us. So if you feel like joining, definitely join. Can people still donate to your fundraiser thing?
I think so. Yeah.
Or, if you do it yourself, just raise awareness, and check out mission22.com to get on there and get on their Facebook group. And it's pretty cool. You get a hat if you join.
Yeah.
And they have some accountability built in where you message your push-ups in as you do them.
Yeah, they have a pretty extravagant Facebook Messenger system.
Yeah, it's like a bot that replies to you and collects your address.
It's crazy. And it says to record your push-ups for the day, go to the messenger, type menu. And I played with it and I typed menu, enter, and it just went menu. I'm like, I'm an idiot. I fell for that. And all of a sudden, 2 seconds later, it went bloop, and then it's got this like scroll to the right, and you hit it, and it goes through, and it's got like boxes to record your push-ups.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Awesome. So check out that. So we're going to be doing it, and we'll.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we're going to be, we're recording episodes during the whole thing, so we'll get progress reports on how we're doing, and And my expectations, having never done this many in a day, throughout a whole month, to see what it's kind of like as a noob versus how you expected it to be. We'll see what happens. All right, let's get into our term of the week. So this is definitely one of those terms that, like many in the nutrition fitness space, that I didn't know what the hell it meant when I heard it, and that is metabolic syndrome. You hear all these doctors, all these fitness guys talking about this, and I just knew it was bad. Something you want to avoid.
People ask me what it is all the time, and I always say, have you ever went to your doctor and they said, we need to fix this? And if they said yes, you have metabolic syndrome.
Doesn't matter what the item was?
No.
And here, I'll just read from the definition.
Read the third sentence.
Okay, metabolic syndrome is a cluster of conditions that occur together, increasing your risk of heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. These conditions include increased blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess body fat around the waist, and abnormal cholesterol or triglyceride levels. Having one of these conditions doesn't mean you have metabolic syndrome, but it does mean you have a greater risk of serious disease. If you develop more of these conditions, your risk of complications such as type 2 diabetes and heart disease rise even higher. So basically it's saying that all of these things are kind of a cluster. If you have one or more, if you have almost any two of them, that's kind of how I would say it. right?
Sure.
You have any two of these, then you have the term metabolic syndrome.
Okay.
Is that how you think about it? Or?
Yes and no.
Okay.
And the reason I say yes and no is, and the reason I said, if your doctor's ever said you have one of these and we need to fix it, show me the person with excess body fat in extreme who doesn't have at least one of the other ones.
Oh, right. They're almost impossible to have
It is.
solo.
It is. And now everyone listening, some of the people listening are thinking of 3 or 4 different anecdotal outliers. Of course, there's people who have high blood sugar and they weigh 97 pounds.
Yep.
I don't care.
But
Save it.
we're talking about the vast majority of people, your average person.
Right. So that's why I say if you likely have metabolic syndrome.
Right. And here
What is it? It's just a fancy name. They gave for multiple issues.
Yep, exactly. So, and what's scary, it says here up to 1/3 of U.S. adults have it. And it's, we know just.
It seems low.
I was going to, yeah. I mean, that's bad enough, but they're probably just saying if you have more than 2 of these things. But, I would say it's probably underdiagnosed then.
Did I share it last week? I don't know, but I'll share it again because it's worth sharing every second of every day. That recent study that came out that said by the year 2030 that 60% of Americans will be obese.
Yeah.
Not overweight.
Obese. Yeah, that's crazy.
60%.
And just for all the people saying, well, I can't believe that because I seem average compared to most people. Exactly. That's the problem.
Right.
Because you are average, but the average person is so obese that you don't even seem like an outlier anymore.
Well, and I had a dude tell me that. Well, if 60% of the people around me are just like me, then who cares? I'm just like, Jesus, dude.
Well, and it's evidenced by my body fat scan where I was still in the heavy category. I don't think anybody that
Nobody
walked by
would've
me
said
would
it.
say
No.
this guy's fat.
No.
But I was still over the normal range.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I'm.
And it's why they go get in-body scans, and they're always way off.
Yeah.
They never know what they need to do. They don't realize how much work they have ahead of them.
It even says here, okay, one sign that it is visible is a large waist circumference. So, and again, that just comes up all the freaking
We've been
time.
beating that horse since we started.
Yeah. I mean, you got to get your waist down. It's just such a bad
34,
metric.
by the way.
What yours is?
I did measure mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know you're more than 68 inches tall because that's how tall I am.
Yeah,
So
a little over 6'1".
yeah, so you're 73 inches. So yeah, you're in the good.
Yep.
In the good category, and I'm right on the line on my way to good. So as a reminder, people that didn't catch that, one of the ways to measure what your waist circumference ideally should be is the measurement of your waist in inches
Above
as
the
a
navel.
ratio, above the navel, like we measure it every week here, is a ratio to your height in inches. So I'm 5'8", so that's 68 inches. So 34, I should be under a 34 waist, and I think I'm at 35 and a half or something like that.
Yeah, you're right
so
there.
I'm creeping down, so I'm getting there. But
We'll
like you
find
said,
out.
you can look at me and nobody would say that guy's a fat ass, but I'm still above past where it's technically healthy. So that tells you where you need to be. Is probably way, way thinner than you are currently for your average person out there. So just because you're looking, and this was, speaking of being on vacation, this was reinforced as I'm sitting around the pool, just doing the mental math in my head,
Yep.
going, okay, that guy's super overweight, that lady's super over, I mean, just surrounded by it.
It's heartbreaking.
And
at the same time, it is infuriating.
Well, because I don't think they have any awareness.
Nope.
Because they see everyone else being just as obese, and they go, that's just where we are now.
So I don't get singled out anymore.
But they don't think we're all morbidly in danger here. Like the alarm bells are not going off like they should be. Because they just think, well, everybody's like this, so I'm just normal.
Yep.
So metabolic syndrome. And so I'll post a couple of articles in the show notes here. And there's a whole bunch of really good information here on these sites that I found to talk about it. So this one says 5 conditions described below are metabolic risk factors. You can have any one of these risk factors by itself, but they tend to occur together, just as you mentioned. You must have, and here it says you must have at least 3 to be diagnosed with metabolic syndrome. So,
So that means at least 3 before insurance covers it.
right, to get the official, to get the official badge,
Right.
the Boy Scout badge to put on your vest of what conditions you have. So here's this large waistline again, high triglyceride level, low HDL, high blood pressure, and high fasting blood sugar. So all these things, diet related again, right?
100%.
All controllable through diet. So metabolic syndrome, you don't want to get it. All right. So that hopefully takes the mystery out of that for people. So now let's get into the topic of the week, fasting. And
I frequently forget how unbelievably polarizing this topic is.
have you found that?
Oh my God, there's still people to this day. You need to eat breakfast.
Most important meal of the day, bitch.
God, I'm just like,
Okay,
no.
I got to show you this because what does it say for time?
50 hours.
Yep.
Dude.
I've been fasting since Monday at 2:30. Now it's Wednesday at 4:47 p.m. So I did a 2-day fast and we'll get into this more, but basically as a reset for
After vacation.
after vacation and eating more than I normally would. So I was up a little bit, and this is my way to break that, to reset,
It's a reset.
get back on track. And that's one of the ways I use fasting or these longer fasts. And we'll get into the details of all that. First, I wanted to start with a definition of fasting, which is, just so everyone knows, to abstain from all or some kinds of food or drink, especially as a religious observance. Now, that's kind of an interesting thing because there's when you get into the history of fasting, and we're going to talk about this book too, The Obesity Code here, which by Dr. Jason Fung, which is kind of how I found a lot of really good stuff on fasting. I mean, this book should be called almost the fasting book because it's really it's one of the tools that he prescribes to all his patients, whether they have diabetes or obesity.
And I thought of this the other day. Jason Fung has been tarred and feathered
Yeah, you were saying that a few weeks
in
ago.
the industry. And I figured out why.
And is the criticism of him that fasting is just dangerous? That's
Fasting's unnecessary and it's not magic. It's just not eating.
yeah.
Well, he says that. But here's the problem.
That's like saying Bill Gates just made more money.
Right, exactly. Right. So here's the problem: is they tarred and feathered Jason Fung. Here's just my one man's opinion, but they tar and feather him like a lot of other people who promote fasting, because for years they've said what you just said 47 seconds ago: breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You got to start. You got to kick that metabolism into gear and get it going for the day. And
You got to provide fuel for your day's activities.
right. And then people like Dr. MD Jason Fung come along and say, whoa, 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 not so fast. Pun intended.
Right.
We
That's good.
we don't need to eat all the time. Our bodies are designed, evolutionary, we're designed to go for periods without eating.
Yes.
It's designed to do that. And when we're not eating, we're repairing, cellular repair. They call it autophagy. So they call it because that's what it's called. But the reason he gets tarred and feathered is because all those most important meal of the day people have to go, I was wrong. Right. And they can't do it. They can't go, oh, shit, you know what? I should take a harder look at this. Maybe this is right. Maybe we had that most important meal. No, fuck no. They can't do it.
They can't do it.
They can't say, dang, I missed. I swung and missed on that one.
I swear that nutrition and fitness stuff is worse than politics.
Oh, it is.
As far as people being dogmatically unwilling to change their positions.
And people accuse me of being dogmatic about stuff because I am not dogmatic.
You're dogmatic about not being dogmatic.
Well, all right, guilty as charged. But I tried fasting. I've tried vegan. I've done keto. I'm the furthest thing from dogmatic.
Right.
I try everything.
Yeah.
And I report back. Mm-hmm. I did vegan for a while. I lost 2.6 pounds of muscle. I'm not doing that again.
Right.
because I don't want that from my life.
Exactly.
So I'm not anti-vegan. It's just not my jam.
That makes one of us.
And that's fine if you're anti-vegan. You can be, because there's things to be anti about.
I'll eat vegans because they're nice and marbled.
They're rudiments.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the benefits. So I've made a list here of...
So sorry, I had to defend Dr. Fung.
Yeah.
Because he gets a bad rap. Wicked smart dude.
Super smart, yeah. And he's getting results. I mean, he's treating all these patients with great results.
He has a clinic.
That's what sucks about getting back to the dogmatic bullshit is all these guys doing like the low carb, I forget his name, but Eric, he's got I forget his name. I'll find it, but he's got I think he's out of Cleveland or somewhere, but he's got he's...
Berg?
Yeah, I think
Dr.
so.
Berg?
He discovered, what works, and because he was trying to reverse the heart problems, diabetes, obesity, and he finally stumbled on something that works like 5-10 years ago, and he's getting these results, whereas all these other nutritionists and doctors were not getting, giving out the move more, eat less advice and no results.
So then where those other people attacked him, the low carb or the fasting people for getting results, they said, well, of course it's working. You're starving people.
Right.
No.
Well,
No.
Well, let's get into some of the benefits. Okay, so weight loss, because speaking of caloric restriction,
Because you're not eating anything.
I had 0 calories the last 2 days. I mean, this coffee is literally the first calories I've had. I've just been drinking water, and I had like a Diet Coke. 0 calories since.
Depends on whose camp you subscribe to, but there are some camps that when you begin the metabolic process in the liver, you're done fasting.
Right.
So that means coffee. That means anything but water.
Right. So, who knows, by the, hardcore nerds out there, the hall monitors, I might have technically not been fasting, but I know what works for me.
Yep.
So, anyway, so weight loss, right? Because you're not taking any calories. So you're giving your body that opportunity to burn the fat stores that are on there that have been sitting there for years, which brings us to mental clarity. Now, this one is crazy. I mean, give me any math problem right now. I feel super sharp,
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, I feel really, really sharp the last couple of days, and I'm 50 hours in, right? 0 dulling of my senses or my abilities cognitively or otherwise.
And hence, I don't know if I want to go down this road. I'll go down this.
It's because
road.
of ketones, right?
It's because of ketones. But why do people fast for religious reasons? Because
they reach another higher plane of spiritual creaminess.
Because it brings them closer to their God, which is mental clarity. They just feel they're just more. Everything's more clear,
Right.
and they're like, "Holy cow! I feel closer to God."
Yeah. I mean,
and that's what it is,
you do feel elevated.
right?
I mean, like you're like floating a couple inches above the ground. It's
The
almost
worst, the tug of war, and Mel always makes fun of me when I fast. The tug of war is I sit in the kitchen and I'm like, "Oh, I'm hungry, but I don't want this feeling to end."
right.
So I
Yes.
stall.
Yes.
I pace back and forth, not wanting to break my fast. Because I'm like, wonder if I could keep going. I'm like, no, eat. And it's like the devil and the angel on my shoulder going, eat. Come on, eat. And the angel's like, no, this is blissful.
And we'll get into, the angel starts to look like angel food cake. That's the problem.
Everything does. And then I eat and just back to normal.
Exactly. But yeah, you do achieve a heightened state of mental clarity. The brain fog, as they call it, just lifts. And that's because your brain is running on those ketones, which it loves. And, you can explain maybe some more of how the liver, because you're entering that state of nutritional ketosis, right?
No.
No?
You're entering the state of ketosis.
Okay.
Nutritional ketosis is when you eat nothing but fat and a little bit of protein and no carbs, and you trick the body into ketosis.
Gotcha.
Fasting is just straight up OG ketosis.
Right. And that's why you don't want to maybe do it for too long, because you don't want the body to start consuming things besides the body fat stores.
Correct.
Right. And we'll get into exact, what we've done and what's worked for us.
There are fasting clinics where
Right.
obese people go in, and I know this is going to ruffle some feathers. Obese people go into fasting clinics and don't eat for a month.
Okay, you know what? This brings me to this story that I found. Now, I'm going to put this article in the show notes. This is the story of Angus Barberry, who went 382 days without eating. So this is a guy who was very obese. This, I think, is in, 1965. 27-year-old Angus fasted for 1 year and 17 days. He ate no food at all and lost 125 kilograms. So that's
times 2.2.
Yeah, so 200 and some pounds, 250 pounds plus. He was reportedly sick of being obese. He walked in weighing 207 kilograms, so that's 400 plus pounds, right?
Yep.
And he told the hospital staff he was ready to cut out food altogether. So the doctors happily agreed to monitor his progress. So they basically just started like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
So it even says here he didn't expect a fast to last long, but they thought a short fast would help him lose some weight. To compensate for his lack of nutrients, he was prescribed multivitamins to take regularly, including potassium, sodium, as well as yeast. So they gave him a little bit of some nutrients there.
Well, those are obviously electrolytes.
Yep.
So you have to have those.
Yeah, we'll get into those and how to compensate for not eating.
Yep.
And it says, as days turned to weeks, Angus's persistence increased. He wanted to reach his ideal weight of 180 pounds, so he kept going, much to his doctor's surprise. He would attend the hospital visits frequently and often stay overnight. He received regular blood tests, all of which revealed his body was remarkably functioning just fine.
It's almost like I read this ahead of time.
Yeah, and he compensated for his lack of food by drinking black tea, black coffee, and sparkling water, all of which are calorie-free. His body began to adapt to the lack of food by burning its own fat stores for energy.
So if you have those pesky vanity pounds, those last 6, 7 pesky vanity pounds, don't fucking do this.
Right.
Please don't do this.
Right, and we'll get into who shouldn't fast. But this guy was 400 pounds,
Well, who
400
shouldn't
plus
fast for
pounds.
how long?
Right.
Well, and medically.
Yeah, not a year.
Yeah,
But
if you're diabetic,
so
please don't fast.
He had 200 excess pounds to lose. So, he had a long way to go. And he said he called it quits after 382 days, having finally reached his dream weight of 180 pounds. According to a Chicago Tribune report, he had forgotten the taste of food before his first meal. He ate a boiled egg with a slice of bread and butter. I thoroughly enjoyed my egg, and I feel very full. 5 years later, he remained at a comfortable weight, 196. Isn't that crazy? So, he went for a year.
Yeah.
A year and 17 days.
So, you know what immediately makes me think of when you say 382 days? Don't tell me I can't skip breakfast. Jesus Christ.
No shit. Oh, my God. Well, I remember you said once, a lot of episodes ago, that we're not rats on a steady IV drip of food.
Yeah, we're not supposed to. We're not.
Yeah.
We have evolutionarily. We
Exactly.
haven't just ate constant.
Yeah, evolutionarily. And that's a great point because when we were, and there's a lot of talk in the keto, carnivore, low carb communities about kind of returning to eating ancestrally. And there's kind of this link to like primal health and ancestral eating and stuff. And the argument against that is, well, we evolved where we don't want to be like that.
We haven't evolved fast enough.
Exactly. But their main point is when we were developing, and the reason that Homo sapiens have giant brains and have developed all this intelligence is because of what we were consuming. And the reasons we outpaced the apes and everything else was because of our diet. And so if we were evolving that quickly and we evolved that much further past these other species, that's the reason why they want to stick to that way of eating. And one of the main things, obviously, cavemen were not eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner with a snack in between every one as they sat down to stare at the cave painting, Netflix of cave paintings, or whatever the hell they were doing, snacking on popcorn as they laid down next to the fire. I mean, they ate, they hunted, they ate whatever they could, and then they were fasting in between.
Of course, because they had to. Right,
exactly. It was just how we evolved. And that was what allowed the body, like you said, to repair the cells, to burn body fat. And, that was the ancestral primal evolutionary way of eating that we're kind of trying to emulate. So yeah, you don't need to eat breakfast, a snack before lunch, a snack after lunch, supper, a snack, dessert after supper, and a snack before bed. If that's what I used to eat,
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's just insane. So
The argument against is stupid, but it's worth. You've got to talk about it, and it is. Well, the life expectancy was 26.
right.
That's how.
Well, that's because
Well,
saber-toothed
yeah.
tigers would eat you.
Well, yeah, saber-toothed tigers
And infant mortality.
and a fucking toe infection.
Right.
You didn't have modern medicine. It's a stupid argument.
Yeah. If one tooth gets infected, you're dead.
You're dead.
Yeah.
That's it. Or if you get away from that saber-toothed tiger, and because he cut your leg with that tooth,
Yep.
and it gets infected, yeah, you're done.
Exactly. You're
So
toast.
stop. That's a stupid argument.
Yeah, exactly. So, it makes sense to try to emulate that ancestral, primal, evolutionary way of eating. Okay, another benefit, and these are all kind of grouped together here, but breaks the habit of constant snacking. For me, that was a great way to reset when I came back from vacation, when I was used to eating more calories. It's a way to get off that path, to establish kind of a clean break. It breaks your attachment to food, because how many people just reflexively reach for more food to snack on, right?
You just said what the note I was going to make. If you didn't read it, I was going to say, I always tell clients to, when you teach yourself to fast, you teach yourself what is and what isn't hungry.
Yeah, right. Because I haven't eaten for 50 hours and I'm not that hungry.
Right. Isn't that amazing when you get break through that wall?
Yes.
It's almost like that runner's high.
Oh, yeah.
Once you run far enough, it's like you get a high. Once you don't eat long enough, your body goes, okay, this is cool.
Yeah, it goes, I'm going to use this.
Right.
Because I got plenty right here. I'm going to use this.
Yep. Stop yelling upstairs for more food because it's not coming down.
'Cause those Oreos ain't doing us any good anyways.
So let's do what we got here.
Yep. We use this to fuel our activity.
And you do.
And that's why your brain functions. You can work out. I worked out last night. I did push-ups both days, pull-ups. I've been working out. No loss of any.
And people who say, but your body will start eating itself and you'll lose muscle. No.
Well, eventually.
Eventually, but as long as
Not
you
when I still have a decent amount of body fat.
oxidative priority.
Yep.
It's going to seek the fat that it wants to use.
And I'm still working out.
And that's stored energy. It's going to use that first. You're not going to gain muscle fasting. No way. Not even eating in a deficit are you going to gain muscle. But you're not going to waste away.
Right. Yep.
So that's kind of a bullshit.
Exactly like this Angus guy that went 382 days. He lost body fat.
Because he had it.
Yeah, because he had tons to spare.
Yep.
So it breaks attachment to food, gives you a sense of control, right? You feel like how many people have you counseled? Probably both, right?
Sometimes. Both. Oftentimes.
You console them after they get on the scale, and then you counsel them how to lose weight.
Yep.
So how many people have you coached that act like they don't have control over what they're putting in their mouth?
100% or they wouldn't be working with me.
Right. They're powerless.
Yep.
It's almost like alcoholic, whatever, an addict
It is,
of
except
some kind.
Except you need food to live, unless you're Angus.
I saw a great point the other day someone made, because that's an argument I always make, and somebody retorted. They said, well, you need to drink water. So alcoholics don't get to say that anymore either, because they still have to drink. I was like, dun, dun, dun.
Well, that's kind of
deep,
that's
right?
kind of a mic drop.
Because that was always my retort was, food is still something you have to put in your mouth. And they're like, well, alcoholics still have to drink every day.
Snap.
I know. I was like, well, I don't have a comeback for that.
Collectively across the world, they all just said, shit.
Shit, I can't use that argument. But yeah, so speak a little bit to that, how people have this just reflexive urge to snack and they feel like they're powerless over it. Well, guess what? If you're saying you're not eating for X amount of time, whatever it's a longer fast or intermittent fasting or time restricted feeding, and we'll get into what all those mean. For this period of time, you're not going to put anything in your mouth except water. That breaks that.
that goes back to what I just said a minute ago. It teaches you what is and what isn't hunger, but it also teaches you how to manage it. So
Right.
once you power through that initial wall, then you're like, I'm not hungry now. So what does that mean? That means you weren't hungry before.
Right.
So
Or
it's
you
that
could have gotten through it easily.
right.
Yeah.
And it's that
not
mental
hard.
block. It's
not that hard.
It's like when I quit chewing Kodiak, I switched to Grizzly because I was cheap. But when I quit chewing Kodiak, what got me through was when I read up on nicotine in your system, and I realized that it was completely flushed out of my system in 3 days. So after 3 days, it was mental.
Yeah, you knew it wasn't a physical.
Yeah, I knew that it didn't have
addiction
it. It didn't have its hooks in me.
Right.
So similar. If someone goes 24 hours without eating, I used to think that was a long time.
Right.
Now I just standing on my head. It's
Yeah, I mean,
weird.
I'm 50 hours in right now, and I'm like, I could go another couple days if I wanted to. I'm probably gonna eat some meat tonight, just because
sure.
I'm trying to keep my protein up too. But it's not that hard once you do it. You think it's gonna be impossible. I used to think skipping one meal would be impossible. I used to snack between breakfast and freaking lunch. Between that 3 hour window in between, I would snack. I couldn't make that. So eating a 24-hour fast, a 48-hour fast would be literally freaking impossible, but it's not.
So
I've done it 10 or 20 times now, like a 2-day, 48-hour, and it's not. It gets easier every time
yeah, it does. For me,
because you've seen the end. It's
the
not
only
that
hard part for me when I do 48 hours is that first night going to bed.
Yeah.
I hate going to bed hungry,
Yeah.
and but it just forces me to go to bed earlier.
Yep.
So 9:30, I'm lights
Right.
out.
Exactly.
But I just thought of another thing of why the haters hate on fasting is because they've taken it so far as to calling it an eating disorder
Oh, right.
or disordered eating
Yep.
is
Well,
the new
what's anorexia?
fit, not eating.
I mean, it's a version.
Right.
But what we're doing is we're in control. We're taking control, whereas an anorexic is not in control.
Well, not in control. And Angus weighed 400 some pounds.
Right.
He wasn't anorexic.
Yeah, he wasn't. Well, and the thing is that anorexics they don't have any muscle mass.
Well, it's because
They just
they
want
are
their
starving.
weight. And they have what's it called, body dysmorphia, where
Yeah.
they look in the mirror and they see a overweight person,
Yeah.
even though they're not. So Angus looked in the mirror and saw an overweight person because he was. So
Right.
he didn't have dysmorphia. He was
Right.
accurate.
Right.
And he took control and reduced that. And it was just an extreme way of doing it. And that's why he's being talked about 50 years later
Right.
as an extreme case, but under doctor's supervision, everything else.
Yeah.
So let's talk about another benefit of fasting, reversing insulin resistance. Now we're going to have to do a what is this terminology on insulin resistance, definition of the term, just because that's another one I'm a little bit foggy on. But basically how I understand it, and you can correct me, is it's
Okay.
the body's ability to be flexible as far as what fuel source it is. And because normally when you're eating food, your insulin is being secreted to deal with that food, to digest it, right?
Sort of.
And if you just keep hitting with food, then your pancreas keeps shooting out the insulin,
Not just,
and it can only do so much, and eventually it just gives up. Right?
but the whole point of, I think of like the game. Remember asteroids, and you're shooting, and all the asteroids are coming at you.
Yep.
Well, that asteroid, your gun on asteroids, that's your pancreas,
Right.
and it's shooting at the asteroids. It's shooting insulin. Well, the asteroids are sugar, not just food.
Right.
Sometimes, I mean, food. Your pancreas is you're going to have some insulin
Response
yeah,
from other foods.
secretion from some other foods.
But nothing compared to complex
right.
or the
So anyways,
processed carbs.
the
sugar.
concept of insulin resistance is when there's just towards when you get really, really good at asteroids and you get to those higher levels and you just can't keep up.
Right.
So when the
gets
pancreas
overwhelmed.
so then after a while the sugar goes, I'm resistant to your efforts
Right.
to try and stop me. So that's what happens.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the reason why you have
I discovered
reverse,
something interesting on my last.
the reason why you have it, you reverse your insulin resistance because you're not eating anything at all.
Right.
Where your pancreas needs to start shooting those asteroids.
And I found this article too. I'll post this in the show notes about the link between intermittent fasting and insulin resistance. And it basically talks about all this stuff in pretty good detail.
That's kind of right there. If you scroll up, that 1 through 6 is what,
here's the
what I
cycle.
was just describing.
Yep. Number 1, you eat a meal. Number 2, your body breaks down carbohydrates down into glucose. Number 3, glucose causes a spike in your blood sugar levels. Number 4, your pancreas releases insulin. Number 5,
Shoots the asteroids.
Yep, insulin attaches to your cells to allow glucose absorption. Number 6, you store remaining glucose in your fat cells. So basically, if you can't eliminate all that,
Because there's too many asteroids.
yep, too
Can't
many,
keep up.
then your cells just have more. The remaining glucose just gets stored.
Yep.
Yeah, that sums it up nicely.
Because
So-
your cells are like taking it all in, and then all of a sudden your cells go,
they just get overwhelmed.
no room at the inn. We're full.
Yep, and it gets stored. So yeah, I mean, insulin is a storage hormone. That's one thing I've heard.
Fat storage hormone.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've heard too. So, so reversing insulin resistance, and somebody who's eaten the standard American diet for almost 40 years, like I did before I discovered any low carb stuff, I'm probably massively insulin resistant. So I mean, it takes a lot to break through that.
And of course, when you talk to the Dr. Jason Fung haters, they're going to tell you that's simply a result of eating too much food,
Right.
not a certain type of food. They'll say your pancreas gets overwhelmed, the cells are full, they got to start
That's
storing.
the calories, people.
Yep, that's just because you ate too much.
But like you say, if I'm eating a ribeye, that's a lot different insulin response than if I'm eating the same amount of ounces of gummy bears.
Right. And the Seco people will say that asteroid game that you're shooting all those asteroids, it's just the pancreas's job.
Right.
It's just doing its job. You just ate too much to make it overwhelmed.
Right. Yep. Oh, makes total sense because, a ribeye is not going to have this generate the same insulin response as 16 ounces of gummy bears.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll post this article. It's a really good. It goes through the whole thing, so you can read at your leisure about that. And I got some videos here. Jason Fung talking about fasting, diabetes, etc. But a big major one that he uses it for is to reverse type 2 diabetes. And he, remember we've talked about this many times, but people, when they got the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes, it was chronic, meaning you're never not going to be diabetic anymore. And it was,
Which is true.
and it was going to be degenerative or progressive. It's only going to get worse, and it's going to be
Which
forever.
is not true.
But
I mean, it can be in some cases, but
the people that are doing low carb or some version of fasting and low carb and keto and carnivore and all this stuff, they are regularly not reversing, but they're getting off their meds.
absolutely. No, it's
And you can call
reversing
it
is okay.
remission, reversing, whatever.
You just can't call it cured.
Exactly. But guess what? If you're on so many doses of insulin a day, and then 6 months later you're on none.
I don't give a shit what you call it.
Yeah,
I'm not taking insulin. I
I'm
don't care.
busting through the tape, and I'm
Right.
raising my trophy up. I'm freaking cured.
Yep.
I mean,
So,
effectively you are.
you want to know my tinfoil hat for that? Once you have it, you always have it.
Well, that's just them wanting to sell that shit.
No, it's pre-existing
statins.
conditions.
Oh,
So they can.
yeah.
So if you switch insurances, it's like, oh no,
Yeah,
that
type
was
2
a
diabetes.
pre-existing condition, and so we're not going to cover that.
But just like we talked about with statins the other week, what's the perfect customer is somebody who has to take something every day. Well, what do type 2 diabetics? They go from not requiring any money spent on medical interventions to every day having to buy a certain amount of insulin for the rest of
My heart goes
rest
out.
of their lives.
My heart goes out to the patients that have to deal with that
Oh, yeah.
because it does. That's why I do what I do. But also, I feel for the doctors and the endocrinologists who have to deal with the people who are like, well, I'm not quitting what I eat. So what's the pill?
You know, what's funny is my dad told me, because my dad's pre-diabetic. My aunt is very diabetic, has been for 20 years, I think. My uncle, so all three of my dad and his two siblings are either fully diabetic or pre. And my dad told me, my uncle said, I don't want to give up eating my cherry nibs or whatever.
Right.
So he's literally choosing, you know, I'm going to eat the cherry nibs and take the insulin. Oh, okay. Well,
Yep.
you know, how is, I mean, that's fun until your toes start getting chopped off.
No, there was
know.
an episode Mel was watching some show, The Resident.
Is
It's
that a drama?
Drama about a resident at a hospital.
Okay.
And they have this frequent guest in the ER who's a diabetic. And he was like, blood was shooting out of his foot. And it was like over, like just engulfed and just huge, engorged with blood and shit. And blood was pouring out of it. And they're like, you're losing blood. And this was a little bit obviously for theatrical effect.
Dramatic license.
Yeah, but as they're like, get the card in here and get it in their stat and yelling all the medical words and people are sprinting back and forth, he's literally eating.
Right. Yeah.
And
Well,
those are the people.
like you said,
They're not going to quit.
try to tell me it's not an addiction, you know?
Right.
I mean, obviously they cannot break that cycle.
Well, how many times have you heard, and this is the one that just makes me want to grab people by the throat. Well, we got to die of something. Yeah, and leave your family behind, jackass.
Right. Yeah,
what
exactly.
a dick.
Right.
God, I hate that.
Yeah, like you might
Not going to live forever. No, you're a selfish prick.
Right.
That's what it is.
Exactly. You want to leave your family 20 years early?
Right.
I don't. Hell no. All right. One thing I wanted to talk about too was the history of fasting. One thing I thought was really interesting. This stuff goes way back. There's these Greek philosophers were big into fasting, and there's one, like Pythagoras, the guy that developed the Pythagorean theorem. Remember that from geometry class about triangles?
No, we learned earlier when I couldn't figure out the push-up set. I didn't get that far in math.
It's funny because these guys were ancient, like BC, like born something BC. So we're talking over 2,000 years ago, saying things like fasting is the greatest remedy, the physician within. Think about the limited amount of medical knowledge they had at the time, and they still recognize the benefits of it just intuitively, including it's funny because he tells a story of this Pythagoras, mathematic Greek philosopher guy. He talks about trying to join this school in Egypt, and they wouldn't let him in until he fasted for 40 days. He said, you fast for 40 days, you come back, then we'll let you in. He's like, but I'm smart enough. I'm the biggest brain in Greece. Like,
right.
Nope, but you are not. You don't know anything yet. So he fasted for 40 days, and he came back and he wrote him a note that said, I'm a completely different person. I knew nothing. I know everything now. He reached this level of spiritual creaminess and enlightenment that he was finally ready to enter this school. And then he goes on to, graduate or whatever. But I thought that was so funny that they made that requirement. And I think and then he just touted the benefits of fasting the rest of his entire life.
Sure.
So it's kind of interesting how it permeates all these ancient cultures, and almost every religion has some type of fasting as a ritual.
Yep.
And, you said, to get closer to Creator or achieve mental clarity or to practice some type of willpower, like a lot of, what do they call that when you whip yourself? The self-flagellation, there's a lot of religions that have a little bit of that in it.
Yep.
And the fasting's that, deny yourself,
Yep.
And it permeates all these religions and these ancient cultures. So
Well, and
it's pretty interesting.
It's hard, so it's some religions consider it a sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So pretty interesting stuff. So I got a lot of,
I posted on Facebook a long time ago something about to the effect that the single greatest thing you can do for your health is not eat. I got destroyed. I got destroyed by the breakfast is the most important meal of the day crowd.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep. I mean, it's very misunderstood. So let's talk a little bit about how to execute this. So there's two ways I look at it. Okay. I look at it like your daily routine, whether we call that intermittent fasting or time restricted feeding, and then longer fasts, which are I do occasionally.
Yeah. Dr. Peter Attias says that.
So tell me how you've used it. You do time restricted feeding.
I do time restricted feeding,
So
which
that's
is
where
anything less than 48 hours.
Yep. So you're eating, and you do what? Like eat within an 8-hour window? Is it
I eat within a 6 now.
6? So like from noon to 6 or whatever.
And for me, it was back to the Oreos.
Yep.
All the Oreos are none. I have a way easier time eating in a caloric deficit when I eat once or twice a day.
Right. So you're just basically saying the rest.
I'm just
So for 18 hours a day, nothing goes in.
Yeah, and what the CECO people call that, the CECO people who are pro time restricted feeding call it banking your calories.
Right.
You're just banking them, saving them for later.
Right.
Sure.
Well,
okay. So
way-
that's what I did, and that helped me a ton. Full disclosure, I'm not fasting right now.
No, not at all. So like you're eating.
I wake up in the morning and I'm still adhering to my calories, but they're up because I'm training.
But are you snacking like after supper before bed?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you're still even that. So you're still not eating from like 7 at night till 7 in the morning, right?
7 at the latest.
So you're talking. It's still a 12-hour.
Sure.
Most people do not have a 12-hour window where they don't have something going.
No,
in their mouth.
that's a fair point.
Right.
That's a really fair point.
So even
most
you're
people
still kind of doing it a little bit. I mean, most people snack till the minute they go to bed.
right.
Sadly.
Oh, even bedtime snack. There's a term for it.
Right. Yeah. And you get up and eat immediately. So I mean, the only time they're not eating is when they're literally asleep.
And you know what I've really started doing since I started breaking my fast as soon as I wake up is not right away. So I'll get up, let the dogs out, typically 5 o'clock. I'll let the dogs out. I'll make coffee and I'll gauge it. And so Monday I did OMAD because I just went by feel.
So you just said, "Am I truly hungry?" Or not?
Yep. It was
And you were just trying to listen to your body's signals.
Yes, some people call it intuitive eating or whatever, but I was just paying attention.
Yeah.
And sometimes over the last few weeks when I haven't been strictly time restricted feeding, I've woke up and said, I'm not hungry.
So you just
So why do I have to eat?
Right.
So then I just blew it off till lunch. But what I haven't done, and I've had to do this numerous times, but what I haven't done is woken up and went, and my stomach's like, feed me. And I'm going, shut up. And I just drink coffee and push it down.
You haven't had to white knuckle it.
Yep. No, not at all. So I don't anymore.
Okay.
And because I have a very increased training level of volume, of how often and how much I'm training.
Right. And so you burn a lot of calories, plus you got a lot of lean muscle mass.
Yep.
Which is even at rest is burning calories. So you can afford a little bit of give that way.
So yeah. And the reason, and the CECO nerds aren't going to want to hear this, but I'm eating a fair amount of carbohydrate now because of training.
Right.
But guess what? It's making me so goddamn hungry.
Oh yeah.
It's almost every morning.
Yeah. I mean, that's that carbohydrate. That's why you can't eat one Dorito, one Oreo.
Right.
It's
I wake up in the morning and but full disclosure too, when I wake up in the morning right now and my stomach's growling and I break my fast and I have breakfast, protein, shake, whey protein, collagen protein. I just picked that up. Chia seeds, banana, and PB2 powder.
I just discovered that stuff. That's awesome.
Along with almond milk.
Yeah, because that peanut butter powder is awesome because it's way less calories, but a lot of protein.
Yeah, and it's got zero fat.
And it's still in a shake. It's great because it
tastes
gives
like peanut butter.
Peanut butter flavor.
And I do the chocolate powder and the chocolate collagen.
Right.
And then the chia seeds add that little bit of texture to it, and they're just good for you. So, full disclosure, I'm not waking up and eating 6 pancakes and,
Right.
and a half a dozen of eggs and sausage and bacon.
Again, the quality of food is really ultimately what's most important.
Well, and it's minimal.
Exactly.
It's not very much.
Right. So let's talk about, so what I do, I've been doing OMAD or TMAD, whatever you want to call it, 2 meals a day. So what I was doing for a long time was just not even white knuckling it, but just not eating till supper. Because for me, I found that if I don't awaken the beast by eating earlier, it's just easier for me to push it off. And I don't get that hungry. So I've been basically eating meat at supper time. So I was doing like 23,
Right.
1.
Right.
You know, so I've changed that a little just because I want to make sure I get enough calories because I don't want to downregulate my metabolism too low, and plus hit my protein targets, which are, like 1 gram
Which
per.
the seagull nerds will say there's no such thing as that.
Right. But I'm finding that's what works for me because I could feel myself,
Weird.
my metabolism down-regulating. So you got to eat in that caloric deficit, but not too much of one. So that's what I'm trying to is just stay just under like the 300 to 500 calories under my total daily energy expenditure.
And full disclosure for the tens of people listening,
Yep.
just because the scale isn't moving, that doesn't mean that your metabolism is down-regulating.
Right.
You are becoming lean.
Yes.
So when you become lean and you have those few pesky vanity pounds to get rid of like you are, just to see how low of body fat you can get, that's different.
Very different.
So if you are stepping on the scale every single day and it's not moving, that does not mean you need to eat more.
No, I've noticed a lot of body recomposition. Shoulders are broader, waist is getting smaller, and some of that's just because the waist is getting smaller, the shoulders look broader.
Right.
It's definitely tucking in a bunch. Pant size going down, so and the scale hasn't moved that much in the last few weeks. So we'll get into that in a little bit here. But so that's how I've been using it. And what I've done recently to keep my calories up is I've been, I guess, doing like a 18-6,
Sure.
if that's 24, right?
Right. Yeah. 18.6. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Or when
So
I
I've been having my
was fasting.
protein shake, at around lunchish, and then eat some meat at supper, and that's kind of what I've been doing. So that's been working well for keeping me enough protein, because most of my calories are protein and some fat. I'm prioritizing protein, and I'm still trying to eat in that caloric deficit, but not too much of one. So that's what I've been doing. So let's talk about, so that's kind of our daily time restricted feeding or intermittent fasting. That's kind of what that is. Now let's talk about, one thing I wanted to say too was just to clarify caloric restriction, like when you're talking about like Nutrisystem and, just where they say it's just all about the calories versus intermittent fasting and time restricted feeding. Like if your total daily expenditure is 2,500 a day, you're eating 3,000 a window. It's a lot harder to overeat because of the time restricted feed opportunity.
You can't.
It's harder to overeat. So that's why it's easier to operate in a caloric deficit doing time restricted feeding or intermittent fasting.
Remember when we talked about bodybuilders? And bodybuilders are trying to bulk and gain weight.
They can't eat 1 meal a day.
They can't. And remember we said if a bodybuilder needs to get like 6,000 calories, that's why they carry around all those stupid Tupperware dishes, because they need to eat those 8 meals. And in order to get to 6,000 calories, they need 8 meals evenly spaced out. Well, if that's true, then the opposite must be.
Right. And strong men are the extreme example of that because they don't care about being lean. All they care about is being the strongest possible. So their entire job is basically eating.
Eating 20,000 calories.
Yeah, just insane amounts. So
Jealous sometimes.
So that's the difference, between caloric restriction and versus the time restricted feeding or intermittent fasting.
Right.
It's almost impossible to overeat just because of that. You can't cram it all in.
If you do OMAD, you can't overeat.
Right. So
It's
that's one way of, if you're trying to operate in a caloric deficit, that's one way to get there. And as long as your quality of food is high, and you're
Then you won't become
prioritizing
nutrient
protein and
deficient.
fat,
Yep.
then you won't have the nutrient deficiencies, and you can still maintain lean muscle mass, not grow, but maintain, and drop body
If
fat.
you're lucky, you maintain.
If you're lucky, yeah.
Depends on
That
how
gives you the
aggressive
best
the fast
chance.
is. Depends on how aggressive the fast is.
And
People
that-
are
okay.
like, I want to be ripped and jacked and have big traps and bulging biceps, but I want to lose 3 pounds a week. Well, you can't do both.
Right. That's why people
you're
do
gonna
the bulk
lose.
and cut, the bulk and cut.
Yep.
That's why these guys that go on stage with their little thongs on.
That's the part you notice? Okay.
And the hairless scrotums from all the
You kind
steroids.
of when you brought up the thong, you were kind of glowing.
Right. Well, they
perked
know.
up.
I watch Greg Doucette on YouTube. He's the yelling Canadian guy.
Yeah, yep.
He's like, I bulk and then I cut. It's like you gain all the muscle by eating over in an abundance, and then you get rid of all the fat
Quickly.
because you can't really do both at once.
And guess what it does? Completely destroys your
Oh,
metabolic profile.
yeah. Those guys, the day they come off competition, are just wrecked.
Yep. 5 days later, they're up 20 pounds.
Right.
No joke.
Oh yeah, it's insane. Well, let's talk about so that's kind of how we do the intermittent fasting, time restricted feeding. Now let's talk about the longer fasts and how you utilize those. For me, I typically 48 hours is about the most benefit I see. I've done a couple 72s, and I didn't feel that much better. I didn't achieve any more spiritual creaminess.
Just for the people listening, if you have any reasons to believe that you're diabetic, don't fast.
Right. Yeah.
Ketoacidosis is real.
In case you're wondering, we're not doctors.
Right.
So that's how, for me, 48 hours is a great way to do a reset. Like when I got back from vacation, boom, 48 hours, I reset, got right back on track, break all that habit and attachment of the slight overeating that I had done on vacation, and reset my weight, any weight gain that I had put on. So that's what's worked for me. How about for you? Like what's
48 is my max. 48 is my max. Typically because it fits, it's that same reset thing, but it kind of fits my lifestyle. Because I still like to, even when I'm trying to dump some extra weight, I still like to train hard and lift hard.
Yeah.
So anything longer than 48 is no good for lifting.
So let's talk about the bad things, okay? Here's the issues that people bring up. I'm going to pass out. I feel faint. I'm weak. Right? Now, this is how I used to feel. I thought I was going to feel when I would fast, when I was going to skip any meal. Oh my God, I feel faint, right? Just skipping lunch or something.
But you don't.
Right.
It just doesn't happen.
And
people are like,
think
I
you
can't do it. I feel sick. No, you don't.
You don't.
You
People think you can't work out.
just want tacos.
I'm sick of not eating tacos. People think you can't work out. Well, I just worked out last night.
No, and
Did my push-ups again.
In fact, if you have fasted for like 24 hours and you do a zone 2 aerobic pathway, which is the fat oxidation pathway, and if you are overweight, if you're not super lean, if you're super lean, you're going to have issues.
Right.
But if you're not super lean and you have stored energy in the form of fat, obviously, you're going to have a phenomenal workout.
Right. Because you're
You're
plenty
going
of
to
fuel.
crush it.
You got plenty of fuel.
Absolutely. And the minute you start into that zone 2 workout, I don't care if it's 45 minutes or 2 hours and 45 minutes, you're going to forget all about any hunger.
Yeah.
The minute you're done, all bets are off. Stomach's going to go, all right, dude, I did my part.
Right.
Your turn. Put something in here.
And that's why the low carb version of diet seems to work so well with in companion to fasting, because you don't have that. It minimizes the hunger because the protein and the fat are so satiating.
Yep.
And it's teaching your body to be fat adapted, use fat as a fuel source.
Right.
So when you're not putting food in your mouth, which is the definition of fasting, your body looks to the fat stores that are already on your body. So again, it makes it easier because it's not saying we need more of that glucose that you had in the form of those donuts earlier.
The best, the form, exactly. I need to carb up. The best analogy I ever heard was an expert in the field, and he was talking to somebody. I don't remember what it was, a documentary, YouTube, or what, maybe in person. Hell, I don't remember. But I'll never forget what he said. And this guy goes, well, I have a question. And he said, well, what about carbs for exercise, for working out? And the doctor, he's kind of a dick. He looks at him, he goes, you could run 10 marathons on the energy you have stored in that body right now.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Talk about a 2x4 across the face.
Yeah, you don't need a carbo load. You already did.
Yeah, you've been doing it for 15 years. But people don't understand that.
That's
well,
funny.
The carbs I had yesterday are gone.
Right.
So I don't have anything in my stomach.
Yeah, when people.
So I need carbs in my stomach.
Yeah.
No.
It's just cravings.
Right.
It's cravings.
Yeah. No. But they philosophically believe to fuel their 5K, they need to go to the speakeasy.
What I say is,
Stop it! Stop it!
So yeah, that's maddening.
exactly. So what better way? That's what everybody's goal is to, the number one goal of probably everybody you coach is to lose body fat, get leaner, right?
Yeah. In conjunction with my Facebook post, I wish it was to get healthy.
Right.
And then the leanness will come.
Right. But what better way to do it than by burning the body fat that's already there? And fasting is a great way to achieve that. So, so that's kind of some of our tips on how to do that. So some of the issues, fasted workouts, can you do them? Yes. Okay. Now
I wouldn't do high intensity.
Right.
I'd keep it low intensity.
Right. And I'm always just trying to build strength anyways. So it's more about, lifting and that kind of stuff.
You're anabolic then, so you're going to run out of gas.
Yeah. And I'm not doing anything crazy intense. It's just, trying to build muscle or maintain muscle. Let's clarify.
Like German volume training that I've been doing for 2 weeks now. It's incredible, dude.
Give us an update on that.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's get into electrolytes. Now, the one thing that I've found that works for me is I have to, when I'm fasting, is take some type of electrolyte supplement. And I use the LMNT, the Element, which is basically a mix of salt, potassium.
Rob Wolf.
Yeah, Rob Wolf stuff.
Yep.
It's just a powder you put in water. And
I get the IV, whatever the hell it's called, from Costco. I drink one of those little skinny packets once a day.
Yeah.
Doesn't have magnesium, though. But I take magnesium in a pill form. So.
Okay. Yeah, and mine has magnesium, potassium, and sodium all in a powder, and it's very salty tasting. But
any caffeine?
Nope.
Okay.
And no calories.
See, this says carbs. But some people sneak in some caffeine.
Oh.
Because if you sneak in caffeine, people are like, I've been taking this powder stuff, and I don't know what it is, but it makes me feel like Superman. Yeah, it's caffeine.
Exactly. That's why all those pre-workout things are full of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do CrossFit, though.
Right.
So I don't need a pre-workout. My goal is to not have my heart rate up because I don't need any help.
But electrolytes I found solved any issues that I had. When I first had fasted, I feel great.
Yep.
That was the one fix. Because I remember the first time I did a 48-hour, my body started I have massive muscle pain everywhere, cramping and
Oh, now you're really selling it. People are like, I'm going to fast tomorrow. I love body pain and cramping all over.
But I couldn't figure it out. I was taking tons of ibuprofen because my shoulder was killing me, and it was just the electrolyte thing. Because I finally looked it up and looked into all the Facebook groups and saw what people having the same issues. They're like, just drink some salt. Drink some salt water at least. Do that.
I always tell people it's like, oh, I'm just feeling that way, and I say just half a turn of the Himalayan salt grinder in your water jug, and you're good.
Right. So
there's a lot of gyms around the country. Kelly Starrett's one of them. Not anyone listening to this is not going to know who that is. Well, maybe one or two people that are into CrossFit.
Not this guy.
Are diehard into CrossFit know who K-Star is. Mm-hmm. But he has Himalayan salt grinders at all of his drinking fountains.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah,
because that's so important.
Right.
But if you're eating McDonald's, you don't need to put salt in your water. I repeat. People out there, the guy on the podcast said put salt in my water. as he's eating McDonald's French fries. No,
Right.
no, your blood pressure is going to be 1,000 over 400.
Exactly. That's bad, right?
I think so.
So that's one way to deal with some of the issues you may see is make sure you get those electrolytes in, and very easy to supplement. So let's talk about who shouldn't fast. We mentioned it earlier. Diabetics, people who are super, super ridiculously lean probably shouldn't go too long, right? Because they don't have they don't have any excess body fat to use, so their body's going to be
but
craving
going
fuel.
But going 24 to 48 hours for even an extremely lean person are still going to benefit from general autophagy or cellular repair.
Right.
Because what happens when you're fasting, everyday Joe terms, is your body's not using all of its employees. If your body was a factory and you were manufacturing something, once you eat,
Mine manufacture is mostly gravy.
mine is excellence. But anyways,
Dewey's number one export, excellence
great. Now my wife just stopped
and
listening.
humility.
My wife just turned it off. She's out. Enough of that shit, she said.
We're an hour and 20 in. She was out a long time ago.
Are we an hour and 20?
She can't listen to you this long.
Good for us. We just set a record.
She's
Anyway,
just happy you're here and not at home.
right.
She doesn't
Yeah,
have to
you
listen
should
to
do more of those shows.
You should do 3 times a week.
You should do them on weekends. So, anyways, if my body's a factory and it was and its job was to make excellence,
Yep.
and soon as I ate something, all of the factory employees went running to one central spot, stomach,
Yeah.
and all did their jobs just manufacturing excellence out of that food that I just ate. Guess what happens? None of the other work gets done.
Right. They're not working on the cellular repair.
Exactly. So when you fast, autophagy is a fancy word for cleaning.
And that's why
It's cleanup. It's just shitty cells
Yep.
getting wiped out, cleaned out.
and that's how to go back to episode 10. That's what happens when you're asleep.
Right.
That's why sleep is so freaking important and your body mandates it. Because guess what you're not doing while you're sleeping? Eating.
Right.
So, even the fattest, guy who snacks up till the minute of bedtime, at least that's the only time they get a break is when they're asleep and their body gets a chance to do some of that.
But it doesn't.
Custodial
Because
work.
it's digesting.
Well, yeah, it still digests for a couple hours
That's
in.
why
but-
that's why you sleep like shit.
Exactly. And you might only get autophagy for half of that sleep time.
No,
whereas if you're fasting,
Never.
you're getting more of
They'd
it.
never get it. They'd never reach the state where autophagy takes place.
So that's that detrimental, you think?
Yeah. No, they'd never experience it.
So people
Without fasting.
People very lean probably shouldn't do it. Diabetics shouldn't do it. And what do you think about endurance athletes, like guys that run those like super marathons and stuff?
Well, there's one marathoner. I forgot his name. It wasn't Zach Bittner. He's phenomenal, but he's the low fat or the high fat, low carb runner guy.
He's like the carnivore guy, yeah.
Yeah, but he eats a tons of carbs. He just bookends his workouts with them.
Right.
And doesn't eat them out of any other times.
And doesn't he shoot like those
Gel
packets
packs and stuff. Yeah, like right
pure
before.
glucose?
Yeah.
When he's,
And then and he says, I bookend my training with glucose. And if I don't train, I don't have glucose because I don't need it.
right.
So, anyways, sidetracked. One dude just ran an ultra marathon completely fasted.
Whoa.
So, for
You
the
mean
folks
like
at home, that's 100 miles while
did he-
fasted.
When did he eat?
I'd have to look up.
Like
I don't know the particulars.
Like I wonder how long of a gap between the last time he ate and when he started the race. Like was it a minute?
Well, he was completely fasted, so there's nothing in his body.
Okay, so it had probably had at least 24 hours.
At
then.
least, yeah.
Wow.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, I'd like to know that. That's crazy.
We'll look that up. Maybe put that link in the show notes.
Yeah, definitely. And one book, I wanted to highlight this book again called The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung. This really it's all about insulin, type 2 diabetes, and it talks about fasting as a major tool to deal with this.
He's very, very, very featured in the documentary on Amazon Prime, the obesity. No, that's the book. Sorry. The Magic Pill.
Oh, yep.
Yep. He's in that. They interview him. Asian guy, wicked smart doctor.
Yep. And he's using this on a daily basis to.
But he's a martyr. I feel bad for him. Sorry,
Yeah.
I keep bringing that up.
No, but I mean, I think, he sold a ton of books. He's super popular too. So I think, he probably will take the good with the bad.
Sure, he doesn't
I
get
think
too
he's doing
wrapped.
all right.
He doesn't. He's super. I'm jealous of him and his ability because I'm getting better at this. And we talked about this off before we started recording off the air when I sound like a radio guy. I'm working on this, but he's super good at what? Yeah, I don't care what people are saying.
Right.
My job is to help people.
Yep.
So all the little trolls on the
got
interwebs.
the blinders on.
Yeah, he has blinders on. That's what Mel says too. Calls them blinders. And I'm getting good blinders.
And he's very confident he's very self-confident
Right.
in his knowledge and he knows what's working.
His
So
truths. Yeah.
why would you listen to these guys that aren't achieving these results?
Right.
When I am.
Yeah. His truths are self-evident.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
no, he's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. All right. Well, let's get into
How fat is Josh?
pretty fat.
Yeah.
All right.
Not really.
So let's look.
Oh, that was a loud gulp. Sorry. I want to get chairs like the Mind Pump guys. You ever watch their YouTube video? They're sitting in these big, fat, puffy chairs,
Right.
and the microphone is just right here, and they don't do anything. They just sit back like this, and they just have their head rested on that pillow or on the back of the chair, and their microphone is like this far away from their face, and they just tell jokes. And
Right. Well, get funnier then. We can do that.
Give me a chair, and I'll get funnier.
All right. Get your tape out. So just to recap, I was on vacation for the last week.
You threw it away. Were you finally sick of this segment?
No,
Can't
never.
find it.
So I was on vacation. I gained 0.8 pounds, which for me is a massive victory because, like I said, normally I would have gained 8 or 10 probably in a week of just eating whatever the hell I wanted. So I basically maintained. Let's call it maintaining. So I feel pretty good about that. So now we're going to do the old wasty waist. I feel good though. Clothes are getting
better?
looser. Yep. I feel like I'm leaning out.
77.
Shut up, you.
36.
All right. I crept back up a little there. All right, so
The takeaway kids don't go on vacation ever. Tell your wife you're not ever going on vacation.
Oh, dude.
Because I don't want to go up.
this is not bad. Going up 0.8
No.
pounds.
That's a win, dude.
Yeah. I feel like I hung in there really good. And
That's a win for somebody who isn't training for a sport,
Right.
Or training to go on stage, or your physique isn't your livelihood.
maybe it will be.
You're good, yeah, maybe.
My body is a wonderland,
If you want to, if you want to live that life,
as the great John Mayer says. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. So I've sort of, and another reason I did the 48-hour fast, I definitely would have been way higher had I not done that. Because
for sure, I lost 13 pounds on my last 48-hour fast.
right,
So
that's kind of craziness. But so that kept me basically back to where I was right before I went on vacation. So I feel like now I'm back at that point, and I'm not starting from I didn't backslide a crap ton, and I have to make up for that.
Right.
I'm kind of back to where I was before I left.
sure,
So then I can just keep on with the slow drop, and it's definitely slowing down. That's what happens. It's logarithmic. So I just got to deal with that and stick to it. Stick to the plan, man.
it's just steady by jerks. Just keep going.
What does that mean?
Steady by jerks. It means you're constantly moving forward, but it's not. It's
Oh, okay.
steady. It's just
I've never heard that.
uncomfortable. And
I've never heard that term. Is that a
oh,
thing?
really? Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Steady as she goes, baby. All right, guys. Well, if you got questions for us, send them to info@fitandfurious.com. We want topic ideas, questions about nutrition, fitness, diet. Make sure you watch on YouTube to check all the extra shenanigans, valuable visuals, and weekly extra content. Check us out wherever podcasts are found, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share. That really helps out the show. Also go to furiousmerch.com for t-shirts that are carnivore and keto centered. All kinds of fun, and it supports the show there as well. And we will see you next week.